In this video, we'll take a look at describing physical properties, in particular the words quantitative and qualitative, intensive and extensive. So I'm measuring some water, the temperature 21 degrees, the water is green in color, and there's lots of it. It's heavy, 950-ish mils. Now if we pour some of that water away and measure its temperature, it's still 21 degrees. Of course, it's less, 650 mils. It's lighter in mass. And now if we measure even less, it's maybe 250 mils. It's still 21 degrees, and it's still green. Now let's take a look at a stack of paper. Here's a heavy stack of paper, maybe 500 grams. If I take less of the paper, it's still white, but of course it's smaller in heft. And if I were to measure the paper, full sheet of paper, it would have a certain set of measurements. Yet if I cut the paper smaller, still it would be lighter, and it would be smaller in length and width, yet it would be still white. So these properties that we've just talked about can be put into lists, and depending on the property, numbers, descriptions, we would put these in 4 different categories. We looked at the heft, we measured the heft, we looked at the color of the water, color of the paper. We could test for viscosity, as we did before in a different video. That could be high or low viscosity. And of course, we had measured the temperature, and we might say that the water was cold or the water was hot. We could measure the mass and the volume of the water and report the density, as we did in a previous lab. We used a ruler. We can report a length or a height, just as we measured the piece of paper, and could say that it was long or short. So let's take a look at the properties that we just did some measuring of in the video, and you can notice that column A and column C, A and C, are both numbers. We would categorize those as quantitative physical properties, whereas columns B and columns D were more descriptive, using words and no numbers. Those would be qualitative properties. Now, what's maybe not quite as obvious is that columns C and D have something in common, in that those properties will vary, how heavy something is, how many mils of water we had, when you vary the quantity of the material. Thus, we call that an extensive physical property. As opposed to columns A and B, the water was 21 degrees, whether it was a lot of water or a little bit of water. The water was green, whether there was a lot or little. The paper was white, regardless. The liquid would always have the same viscosity, whether there was a lot or a little. We would describe it as cold. So regardless of numbers or not, these we would describe as intensive properties, meaning a property that does not change when you have varying quantities of the substance. So go to your note sheet A7 and review these vocab words so that you can use them appropriately.